guys, welcome to the first class of percentage. See percentage, why we are starting off with percentage, because percentage is the most basic and the most important chapter when it comes to solving arithmetic. ठीक है, percentage का use आपको ना केवल arithmetic में रहेगा but also in your LRDI sets as well, right? And most of the arithmetic questions, some or the other way, are related to percentage. All right, percentage calculation, knowing the percentage calculation is of utmost importance, right? So firstly, we'll be doing what? We'll be writing fraction, percentage to fraction values, right? Percentage to fraction values. Okay. All right. So let's the first thing that you need to know is that you have to memorize these values, right? Because they will play a very important role in question solving, right? That is 1 by 1 is 100%. 1 by 2 is 50%. 1 by 3, 33.33%. 1 by 4, 25%. 1 by 5, 20%. 1 by 6, 16.66%. 1 by 7, 14.28%. 1 by 8, 12.5%. 1 by 9, 11.11%. 1 by 10, 10%. 1 by 11, 9.09%. 1 by 12, 8.25%. Sorry, 8.33%. Sorry. 1 by 13, 7.7%. 1 by 14, 7.14%. 1 by 15, 6.66%. 1 by 16, 6.25%. 1 by 17, 1 by 17 is your 5.88%. 1 by 18 is your 5.55%. And 1 by 19 is your 5.26%. Right? So remembering these values is of utmost importance. ठीक है, अभी समझते हैं क्यों इतना जरूरी है इन values को याद. Right? So let's say if you have a question. Let's say a question tells you that calculate 37.5%. Calculate 37.5% of 632. Right? Now, if you remember that 12.5% is nothing but 1 by 8. Right? So 37.5% is triple of 8. So 37.5% simply means 3 by 8. Correct? So what you can directly do is that 37.5% of 632 can simply be written as 3 by 8 of is nothing but multiply of 632. Right? Let's calculate. So this goes 7 times. You are left with a 7. 72 goes 9 times. Right? 79 into 3. 80 into 3 is 240. And 1 less 3 times. So this becomes equal to 237. Correct? Similarly, let's say there is one more question. Another question tells you to calculate, let's say 43.25%. 43.25% of, let's say, let's take any value. Let's say it is 640 this time. Let's take 640. Now 43.25% can be written as 50% minus 43.75%, let's say, minus 6.25%. Correct? Correct? 50% minus 6.25%. Now what is 50% ka fraction? 1 by 2. What is 6.25% ka fraction? 1 by 16. So can I say that 43.75% is nothing but 1 by 2 minus 1 by 16? Which ultimately turns out to be what? 16 as the LCM. This goes 8 times, this goes 1, this becomes equal to 7 by 16. So can I say that 43.75% is nothing but 7 by 16, and of 640 if we are calculating, this goes in this manner. 40 into 7, 280. See how easy your calculations become if you remember these values, right? Let's solve one more question. Let's say if we have, let's take any example that you want to take. Let's say 66.66%, right? 66.66%, right? So 66.66% of, let's say, if you have to calculate of 333. Okay. So 33.33% we all remember. 33.33% is nothing but the fractional form is 1 by 3. So can I say that because 66.66 is double of this, so 66.66 is nothing but 2 by 3, and 2 by 3 of 333 gives you a 222. Correct? Similarly, let's say if you have to calculate, let's say you can take any value, that whatever values that you want. Let's say a difficult value, let's take 73.33%, right? 73.33%. 73.33% of 720. Let's say this we have to calculate. So 73.33%, can it be written as 80% minus 6.66%? Now 80% is nothing but 4 by 5 and 66.66% is nothing but 1 divided by 15. Correct? So can I say 15 is the LCM? This goes 12 minus 1 is equal to 11 by 15. So can I say that 73.33% is nothing but 11 by 15, and of 720 we have to calculate. This goes how many times? This goes 4 times. You're left with 12. 120 goes 8 times. So 48 into 15 is 720. 48 into 11. Now see your calculation with 11 comes into picture. So 4, 8, 8 plus 4, 12, carry over 1. The value is 528. Correct? So you see how simple our problems become if you are thorough with all these values. If you remember these values, your life becomes very easy. Correct? In terms of question solving. Perfect. Now let's take some other example. Let's say we have 83.33%. 83.33% of 756. Let's say. Correct. So 83.33% is nothing but 16.66% multiplied by 5. So can I say that 83.33% is nothing but 1 by 6 multiplied by 5, or nothing but 5 by 6? So 5 by 6 of 756 is what you have to calculate, and the answer becomes very simple. So this goes 1 time, 15 goes 2 times, 3 is left, 6. 126 into 5. So 120 into 5 is 600, 6 into 5 is 30. The final value becomes 630. Correct? So it's very important that you remember these values, because remembering these values is of utmost importance. Let's say if you have to calculate 55.55% of, let's say 1331. So 55.55% is nothing but 11.11% multiplied by 5. Or this can be written as 1 divided by 9 multiplied by 5. Or this could be written as 5 by 9. Right? So 1331 divided by 9 multiplied by 5 is all you have to calculate. This goes 1 time. You're left with 43. This goes 4 times. You're left with 771, roughly 8. Approx. So 148 into 5, 140 into 5 is 700, 8 into 5 is 40. This goes close to 740. Correct? So remembering these values is of utmost importance, because it can help you solve complex percentage calculations in a minute. Right? So if you are thorough with these values, जैसे I'll tell you some values also, some values that you can remember. तो let's say कि भाई 1 by 1 तो अपना clear है, ठीक है, sorry, 1 by 1 तो clear है 100, 1 by 2 is 50, 2 by 2 is 100, 1 by 3 is 33.33. इसका multiple that you have to remember is 2 by 3, that is equal to 66.66. I'm writing down only the important ones जिस पे questions are mostly asked, ठीक है, तो so that you don't have to think and बस यहाँ से देख करके रट्टा मार लो that what fractional values that you have to work upon, right? Then you have 1 by 4, that is 25. 2 by 4 is 1 by 2 only, so that's 50. 3 by 4 is important, that is 75%. 1 by 5 पे 20 is important, 2 by 5 पे 40 is important, 3 by 5 पे 60 is important, and 4 by 5 पे 80 is important. Correct? 1 by 6 पे 16.66 we know. 2 by 6 is 1 by 3, so it becomes equal to 33.33. 3 by 6 is 1 by 2, so that also becomes equal to 1 by 2. 66, that is 4 by 6 is 2 by 3, so we have already covered that. 5 by 6 is one value that you have to remember, that is 83.33%. Correct? 2 by 7 is something that you will have to remember, that is 28.56. Right? 3 by 7 is nothing but 3 by 7 is nothing but this 42.84. Correct. So you can remember in this format, right? 4 by 7 is somewhere around 56 point something, right? 5 by 7 is something around 71 point something, 71.28 or something, right? So these are the important values that you should remember. 6 by 7 plays a very important role. It's 85 point something. So whenever these values are 56 point something, 71 point something, 85 point something, they are usually 4 by 7, 5 by 7 and 6 by 7. Correct. Then 1 by 8K multiples are very important. So 1 by 8 is 12.5. Right. 2 by 8 is 1 by 4. 3 by 8 is very important. 3 by 8 turns out to be equal to 37.5. 5 by 8 is very important because it's 62.5. 7 by 8 is also very important because it's 87.5%. Right. So these are primary values that are important. Similarly, 1 by 9 के केस में 1 by 9 में 11.11 and all multiples of these are required. That is 22.22, 33.33, 44.44 and so on. These are all 2 by 9, 3 by 9, 4 by 9, 5 by 9 and so on. Right. 55.55, 77.77, 88.88, right, and so on. Right. So these are also very important. 1 by 9 also plays a very important role. Correct. So these are some values that are very important that are usually used in your questions. Right. So if you remember these values, life will become easier for you. The calculation part will become very easy for you. Right. So that is there. Next, the next topic that we are going to cover under this heading is C. Moving ahead, before moving ahead, I want to remind you that always please remember these values. And remembering these values and remembering these multiples of those values is going to play a very important role. Right? Because if you remember these values, see 99% of the questions that are that you have to solve are based on these fractional values only. 99% questions that you are going to solve are based on these fractional values. So if you remember these fractional values, यार तुम्हारे लिए काम बहुत आसान हो जाएगा. Calculation का part तुम्हारे लिए बहुत आसान हो जाएगा. Right? So that's very important. Now coming to another important term, that is multiplying factor. Multiplying factor. Right? So multiplying factor simply means to which number should we multiply with to achieve a certain value. Right? समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. सबसे पहले एक बेसिक सी बात समझो, that your multiplying factor in terms of increase and decrease. So in both cases, it works in a different manner. Right? When you are increasing a value or you are decreasing the value. When you are increasing the value, it is 1 plus fraction. Right? When you're increasing the value, it's 1 plus fraction. When you're decreasing the value, it's 1 minus fraction. Right? So when you're increasing the value, it's 1 plus fraction. When you're decreasing the value, it's 1 minus fraction. Correct? Now, what does this mean? What do you mean by this? Let's try it with some examples. All right? Let's say it has been asked if a article, let's take a number only as of now. If a number is increased by 20%, the original number being 150. Find the final number. Find the increased number. Let's say this is the question that you have, right? So what did I say? कि multiplying factor क्या होता है? The number to which the number should be multiplied to achieve a certain value. Right? The multiplying value factor वो number है जिससे हम 150 को multiply करेंगे to achieve the final number that we are looking forward. Correct? तो वो कैसे निकलेगा बॉस? तो multiplying factor मैंने क्या बताया कि 1 plus fraction value. तो 20% का fraction value क्या है बॉस? 20% का fraction value is 1 by 5. So my multiplying factor as per what I have studied should be 1 plus 1 by 5. That is 5 plus 1 divided by 5. That is 6 by 5. So my multiplying factor over here is going to be 6 by 5. Now what does it mean? I simply need to multiply my original number with the multiplying factor to arrive at the final value. This goes 30 times 36 are 180. 180 is the 20% incremented value. 180 is the 20% incremented value. That is something that you have to remember. Right? समझ में आ रहा है कि जिस भी परसेंटेज से इंक्रीज करना है उसका फ्रैक्शन लिया, 1 में ऐड किया उसके फ्रैक्शन को, यू हैव योर मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर. जिस भी नंबर में इंक्रीमेंट करना है मल्टीप्लाई कर दो. सिमिलरली अगर इसको मेरे को डिक्रीज करना होता बाय 20%, तो डिक्रीज के केस में मेरा मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर क्या है? 1 माइनस फ्रैक्शन. तो 1 माइनस फ्रैक्शन वुड हैव मेंट व्हाट? 1 माइनस 1 बाय 5. 5 को अगर एलसीएम लिया तो ऊपर क्या आया? 5 माइनस 1, दैट इज दिस बिकम्स 4 बाय 5. राइट? तो मेरा मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर क्या हुआ? 4 by 5. तो मेरे को फाइनल वैल्यू निकालनी है, तो इट इज गोइंग टू बी 150 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 4 by 5 इज इक्वल टू, दिस गोज 30, 30 into 4, 120. 120 would have been my final value. अब अगर इसको एक फॉर्मूला के टर्म में लिखना है तो अ वेरी सिंपल वे टू राइट इज दैट ओरिजिनल वैल्यू मल्टीप्लाइड विथ मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर गिव्स यू द फाइनल वैल्यू. अब इसमें से कोई भी आइटम मिसिंग हो, कोई भी आइटम गिवन हो, यू कैन वेरी इजिली कैलकुलेट. Right? So original value multiplied by multiplying factor gives you the final value. That's the most basic equation that you have to follow. Multiplying factor के लिए if increasing 1 plus fraction, decreasing 1 minus fraction is something that you have to do. Correct? कुछ और questions try करते हैं कि let's say I have the number 300 and I have to increase it by let's say 40% and I have to decrease it by 66.66%. Final value क्या हो? तो पहले केस में यहां पे मेरा मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर इज गोइंग टू बी व्हाट? माय मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर इज गोइंग टू बी 1 प्लस फ्रैक्शन ऑफ 40% इज 2 by 5. So its value becomes 7 by 5. Over here the multiplying factor is going to be, because there is a decrease, तो multiplying factor क्या होगा? 1 minus fraction क्या है 16.66 का? 1 by 6. So this value is going to become 5 by 6. Correct? This value is going to become 5 by 6. तो values क्या होंगी? 300 multiplied by 7 by 5. This gives you a 60 into 7 420. यहाँ पे फाइनल वैल्यू हो जाएगी 420. यहाँ पे फाइनल वैल्यू हो जाएगी तुम्हारी 300 multiplied by 5 by 6. This goes off, right? This goes off. 6 के टेबल में it goes 50 times. 50 into 5, 250 is your final answer in this case. Right? So this is how your increment and decrement works. Right? And with respect to multiplying factor. तो दो चीजें याद रखनी है मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर. इंक्रीज के केस में 1 प्लस फ्रैक्शन, डिक्रीज के केस में 1 माइनस फ्रैक्शन. ओरिजिनल वैल्यू मल्टीप्लाइड बाय मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर गिव्स मी द फाइनल वैल्यू. दैट इज समथिंग दैट यू हैव टू रिमेंबर. राइट? फ्रैक्शंस याद है, मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर का कॉन्सेप्ट समझ में आ गया, सारे क्वेश्चन परसेंटेज के इसी पे लग जाएंगे. ऑल द क्वेश्चंस यू विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व इन द सेम पर्टिकुलर फैशन. यू डोंट हैव टू डू एनीथिंग एक्स्ट्रा फॉर दिस. राइट? लेट्स सॉल्व 1 or 2 more questions to understand, to have a better understanding. Let's say this time what we have is the number is 400. There has to be an increase of let's say 100% and there has to be a decrease of let's say decrease of 93.75%. right? 93.75% का decrease है. तो multiplying factor for 100% is what? 1. तो मेरा fraction for 100% is what? 1. तो multiplying factor क्या होगा? 1 plus 1, that is 2. So 400 into 2, 800 is my final value. डिक्रीज करना है, मल्टीप्लाइंग फैक्टर क्या होगा? 1 माइनस फ्रैक्शन. तो 1 माइनस फ्रैक्शन क्या है भाई? 93.75% का फ्रैक्शन क्या है? आई नो दैट 6.25% is 1 by 16. 93.75 is 15 times of it. So my fraction would turn into a 15 by 16. So 1 minus 15 by 16, or I can say it's going to be 16 minus 15 by 16 or 1 by 16. So 400 multiplied by 1 by 16 is my final answer. This goes how many times? This goes your 2 times. You are left with 85. 25 is your final value. Right? So when there is an increase, my multiplying factor is 1 plus 1. When there is a decrease, my multiplying factor is 1 minus fraction. Correct? And multiplying the original value with my multiplying factor gives me the final value in each of the cases, right? So this is something, if you know, you will be able to solve every single question very quickly, right? And without any mistakes. Let's solve one more question. एक और question करते हैं. Let's increase the value to 720. Let's say if I'm increasing the value by, let's take some random numbers. Okay, let's say we are increasing it by 66.66%. Let's say we are decreasing it by 33.33%. Correct? So multiplying factor over here will be 1 plus fraction. Fraction is 2 by 3. That means my multiplying factor is going to be 5 by 3. 5 by 3 into 720 is what I have to do here. Over here, my multiplying factor is 1 minus fraction, that is 1 minus 1 by 3. That is 2 by 3 multiplied by 720. 720 goes 240 times, right? 720 goes 240 times over here. 24 5s are 1200. Again goes 240 times, 240 into 2, 480 becomes my final answer. So I hope I have made myself clear that why. And now after solving these, I hope you even understand the importance of remembering these values and the multiples of values. You understand the importance of knowing them. And once you know the importance of knowing them, I hope you have understood that how to calculate the multiplying factor for an increase, how to calculate the multiplying factor for a decrease, right? And how to get the final value from the original value and the multiplying factor. I hope I made myself clear in this. So if you understood the video, let's move ahead towards the second video, in which we'll be discussing about successive multiplication. So successive multiplication would be the next topic that we'll be covering.